all data has quality, right? Even if the leads that you reject, that has its good information, because now you can feed that to your marketing team saying that, hey, you know what? We don't want to attract this kind of people. So if we are attracting bad leads, it means there's something wrong in our messaging, something wrong on our website, right?
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Law Firm Marketing Minute. As always, I'm your host, Smike, and today, numbers can be scary. Numbers can jump out at you. They can go in ways that you're like, oh my gosh, like I didn't know that the numbers could scare me that much. Halloween's passed already, but I'm here to tell you that numbers are going to be your best friend. It's going to be your law firm's best friend. The importance of data for a law firm. And to back me up on this, I have brought on Sachin Bakhai. He is from LawKPIs. And Sachin, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Michael. I'm really excited to talk about data. I'm super passionate about data because I have been breathing data for like last 20 years. So anything and everything you want to talk about data, I'm super excited to talk about that.
That's awesome. I'm excited. I know that I'm a big fan of data myself. I love finding patterns. I love to be able to, have theories and then plug in the data and see if my theory is correct and that sort of thing. So I'm very excited to also learn a lot. But first, let's get a quick introduction of you for the audience. Go ahead and introduce yourself, what you do, and what's been your motivation to get to where you are today.
Well, absolutely. So my name is Sachin Bakhai. I'm one of the founders of LawKPI. To give a quick background, like we got into this by accident, right? I never was planning to be in the legal industry, but about like 4 years ago, one of the attorney friend in my networking group was struggling. And so we happened to build some sample reports and dashboards for him. He used to use Clio, and then we got a chance to meet with the leadership team at Clio. We showed them what we have done for one client. They loved it. They connected me with their technical team, and that's how this product was born. So we started about this 4 years ago. I've always been in the data analytics space, but I used to do it for Fortune 1000 companies. So very large pharmaceutical and manufacturing organization. So legal was a little bit different. I had to obviously learn a lot. And I must have spoken to at least close to 2,000 law firms over the last 4 years, trying to understand what is important for them and what makes sense. Because whether you're like under $1 million law firm or you do like a $20 million law firm, at every given stage, you need data. And the goal is to have data in a meaningful way that you can digest, because you don't want to spend like hours analyzing the data, right? The software or platform that you pick should do it for you. So that is what we do.
That's awesome. And have you always just been like a big fan of numbers and like what I said, like I love how data, like I love being able to find patterns and stuff like that. Is that your thing too, or?
Yeah, that means that is exactly what we used to do. And to give a gift example, not for the legal industry, but for Dunkin' Donuts, Dunkin' Brands was one of our clients. And we used to do analysis on per store, how many drive-through windows is going to be more efficient for them. So based on the location, based on the foot traffic and the things that they order, they realize that, okay, if they have 2 drive-through windows, it is more efficient and the sales actually go up because people don't have to wait in line. And sometimes in the mornings, all they need is, coffee and a couple of donuts, right? So it's quick in the drive-through. So those kind of analysis we used to do for larger firms. And for law firms, again, law firms, people are the most important assets for them, right? The number of hours that they have is limited, and that is the most precious thing. So how they are utilizing those hours, what is more profitable for them? So that is the key, what we help them analyze.
So they say America runs on Dunkin', just real quick, but it seems that Dunkin' Donuts ran off of you guys. So, so ultimately,
inside joke, America runs on Dunkin', powered by Blink. So that time my consulting company was Blink. So we used to say powered by Blink.
Hey there, we're going to get right back to the episode in just a few seconds here, but I wanted to share this opportunity that's exclusive for podcast listeners, or if you're watching on YouTube, exclusive to you as well. If you book a strategy session with us using the link in the podcast description or YouTube description, in the notes section, all you got to do is type LFMM for Law Firm Marketing Minute. And if you decide that we're a great fit and we decide you're a great fit for us, you'll have no monthly payments until January 2025. Pretty crazy. So go ahead and check the description. All right, let's get right back to the episode. So let's talk about data. I mean, most law firm owners, I would say, they went to school to practice law. They didn't go to school, like we always talk about here. They didn't go to school to learn marketing, and I'm sure they didn't go to school to learn about data. What can we tell small or medium-sized law firm owners about data? Like what first of all, what kind of data should they be tracking?
So I think I always like to walk backwards. So identify what your goal is, right? So the most important thing is your revenue goal. So what is your revenue goal? For example, your revenue goal for 2025 is, let's say, like $2 million. So walk backwards. How many leads do you need to get to that stage on a weekly basis? How many matters you need to open? How many matters you need to close? What is your collection goal? So there are about like 15, 20 entities, depending on the size of the law firm and type of the law they practice. You need to identify goals for each of these and then measure it on a weekly and a monthly basis so that, you're not looking at numbers at once a quarter. By the time it's too late. So we encourage them to look at it on a weekly and monthly basis. And most of the law firms, they don't look at it that often because they're not invested in technology. They're not invested in a platform that can easily give them the information. So it doesn't make sense for them to spend 10, 15 hours every month collecting that information. So that's why they kind of shy away from looking at data. And the goal is even after looking at the data, I don't want them to look at like a spreadsheet with 100 columns, right? Then you're just looking at data, you don't know what to do with it. So our goal is also to help them identify outliers, right? Red, yellow, green. What is working, what is not working in your practice? And when you see something that is red, that's when you focus, okay, this area of my practice needs attention. If it is green, you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, and okay, so let me give you a prime example, something that we see a lot in terms of law firms, right? And I'm sure you in your work have heard this from lawyers as well. One of the things that time and time again, because we do lead nurturing here at Spotlight Branding, we don't do lead gen, but lead gen is something that's on top of law firm owners' minds. So say a law firm wants more clients, what kind of data would you recommend that they kind of focus on for that sort of thing?
So one is they have to obviously look at the top funnel, right? What are the different sources from they get the leads, right? Is it through referrals? Is it through online? Is it through their bar associations? Do they do paid ads? What are the different sources from where they're getting the data? And they need to look at the conversion rate for each of these sources to see, okay, hey, referrals, my conversion rate is like 50% versus something that comes from Google, my conversion rate is only 10%. So it's like volume versus quantity, right? You don't want just volume, but you want quality also. So they have to look at it from different sources. And they also want to look at it with different type of matters that they work on, like which matters actually are closing faster. For example, if divorce with no kids, they're able to close it much faster, then maybe they need to focus on those things first rather than divorce with kids, because that gets complicated, right? So what is working? So they want to narrow it down to the lowest level to figure out, okay, which type of matter is actually making money for me.
I gotcha. And you mentioned quality. Would you say that there's such a thing as bad quality data, or would you say that all data has some quality to it?
Well, all data has quality, right? Even if the leads that you reject, that has its good information, because now you can feed that to your marketing team saying that, hey, you know what? We don't want to attract this kind of people. So if we are attracting bad leads, it means there's something wrong in our messaging, something wrong on our website, right? So even the leads that you reject, you want to look at it very carefully to make sure that you continue to minimize the leads that you're rejecting.
So that sounds a lot like, I'm sure you've heard of the Thomas Edison story, right? Where he says, he tried to make the light bulb 100 times and it only worked once, and now he knows 99 ways not to, make a light bulb.
Yeah, I love that. I love that quote. I think that's absolutely true because any information you have is valuable. It just you need to know how to interpret it and how to use it.
Is that where you guys come in? I would imagine in terms of like interpreting it.
Yeah, so we help them in whatever capacity we can, but the goal is like our platform and our dashboards. We try to make it so easy to use, so it just becomes it's very intuitive for them to okay, you know what, decide whether I should focus on this or not, right? One quick example, right, is we help them understand what is their average rate by practice area. So they know, okay, you know what, if I'm certain practice area, I'm charging like $300 versus some practice area, my average rate is like $500. I should focus on that practice area more because, just by doing the same amount of work, my margins are much higher, right? So these kind of things that they want to look at it on a regular basis. And it's not just for the attorneys, right? You want to look at it across your team to see who is profitable and who is not. And another classic example, right? One of our clients, just because of before they actually joined us, they lost like two of their rainmakers. And the reason was they did not take care of them. They did not have visibility as to who is generating what. They could have easily given them a good bonus and retained them. But just by losing them, they lost a lot of book of business also because they took it with them. So these are the things it's very important because, it's in this industry, I'm sure it's very difficult to hire and retain good talent, right? So,
Absolutely.
why do you want to risk losing your rainmakers? And, they always say, right, hire slow and fire fast. And this numbers, you look at it, if somebody is not performing, there's no need to hold on to that uh, individual, right? You have to find a good fit for your firm.
Yeah, and that's really where data comes in as the best friend that you need, right? So a lot of people they don't want bad news nowadays, right? They don't want to be told the ugly truth, right? But honestly, a best friend will tell you the ugly truth, right? Like if I started slipping and I started, not paying good enough attention to my diet or something like that, I would hope that my best friend would be like, hey, like you're slipping a little bit, right? That's that kind of thing. And I think data is the same way, where it's like, hey, like it won't lie to you. It just won't lie to you. As long as the numbers that you enter are correct, it won't lie to you. And it sometimes will tell you things, man, I didn't want to know that. I didn't want that to be the outcome, but it is what it is.
Right. And to give you another example, several of our law firms, right, who do flat fee work, they, after using us, their profitability has gone up significantly. And the reason is we give them the allocation because you do a flat fee of $10,000 and three people work on it. You don't know how much each employee is working. It's very difficult to calculate their allocation out of the 10,000 matter, right? And sometimes you get $10,000, but you end up working close to like $12,000 on that specific case. So you're losing money. So we give them the ability to monitor it real time how much of the flat fee that they have burned, so they can make adjustments. Right? A lot of times, if the attorney is spending too much time on it, that's a problem. They can easily delegate certain things to paralegals or junior people so that they can increase the profitability on a flat fee. So we also give them a comparison as to if the same matter you were to do it on an hourly basis, what would you charge, right? So this kind of gives them the ability to look at historical data and say, okay, am I charging the right fee for my flat fee? Do I need to increase? Do I need to decrease? And in some cases, you might want to decrease it because if you have significant margin on that flat fee, you might want to decrease it a little bit and try to capture more market share, right?
Yeah.
There's a fine balance that you need to do, but without data it's very hard. It's like guesswork. So without data it's very hard to see, okay, hey, am I charging the right fee or not? And a lot of times our clients have decided, okay, you know what, this flat fee is very unpredictable for this type of matters. So they decided either to go on a hybrid approach, create a scope and do it on a flat fee and then convert that into an hourly billing, or do it hourly to begin with, right? So you need information, you need data to make these kind of decisions.
Yeah. Are you saying that what you guys do is like real time? So it's not like, you're giving like daily updates, weekly updates, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so our platform is they have access to our platform 24/7, right? So they can go in and look at the dashboards anytime they want. We also have the ability to schedule, right? Everybody's busy, right? Nobody has time to log in, run the report, right? So things that you're looking at on a regular basis, we have the ability to automate it. Like you schedule it, it'll automatically run it, email it to you, so you don't have to remember to log in and run it, right? Especially like, if your admin or somebody is the firm administrator is running these reports for you, if they are on vacation, who's going to do it for you, right? So if it is automated, you don't have to worry about them. If they are on vacation, you still get the information you need.
That's very powerful, honestly, because I know that a lot of lawyers just simply don't have the time every day or every week to do this, and a lot of them will probably do it like every few months or so. So to have that access on a daily basis, 24/7, I mean that's terrific.
And the thing is, not just us, right? Any platform that they pick, they need to make sure that it is automated. It refreshes the data on its own. You don't have to worry about like manually feeding that information. Also, what we have seen is a lot of law firms, especially like who are under like $2 million in revenue, they work with a business coach or they are part of like a coaching program, and they scramble every month before the meeting with their coach. They're scrambling for information because the coach cannot help you if you don't give them good information, right?
Yeah.
So with what we do is whatever the coach needs, it is everything is part of the dashboard. So what our clients do is they give access to that coach to our platform also. So now they don't have to worry about sending information to the coach. Also, the coach doesn't have to wait end of the month to get the information. They can look at it on a weekly basis and make adjustments. So that becomes a little bit more uh, dynamic and real time for the coach to actually coach them, and that significantly improves the efficiency also and the amount of money, because they're investing a lot of money in the coaching program. So why not get the most out of it by giving them the data that makes sense?
And you mentioned how some people are scrambling to get the data together before like a big meeting or something like that. That sounds like me back in high school, right before class. That's when I did my homework, right? I was like, oh yeah, about that paper. Whoopsie. Anyways, and you mentioned dashboards a few times. Is that the best way, for sure, hands down, the best way to organize your data?
It is, and what we have done is, we recommend like creating dashboard based on the role. So, for example, like we have an operations dashboard. So somebody who's taking care of the operations of the firm, like a COO or a firm administrator, they will need those dashboards, right? Then we have like a finance dashboard, we have a management dashboard, we have a partner dashboard, an employee dashboard, right? So depending on the role, not everybody needs everything, but depending on the role, you pick and choose the dashboard that makes sense. And all our dashboards, you dashboard is usually information that is summarized. But then if you find a problem, you also want the ability to drill down further. So that is also something that the law firms need to make sure that they have the ability to drill down to the lowest level if required. So that is what we offer them. So part of our dashboard, they can drill down as deep as they would like to go.
I gotcha. That's awesome. That's awesome. It sounds it's. I know that, like I said before, I know that data is something that's for me is very exciting, and honestly, like for people who are out there thinking like, oh well, like I don't want to just stare at a bunch of numbers. Like what's the exciting part about data for a law firm? Like what can they get excited about?
I think once they start seeing that the benefit, like okay, you know what? If they measure it, okay, you know what? Hey, my revenue is increasing month over month by like 10%, 20%, right? So that is what excites them. So that is when they'll start investing more time in looking at the data and making decisions. End of the day, they want to improve their efficiency, they want to improve their profitability, and they want to have like a good work-life balance. Because a lot of our clients, before they use LawKPI, evenings and weekends is what they would do and spend their personal time in creating these reports, because during the weekdays they're busy helping their clients. So now evenings and weekends, so they're like kind of sacrificing on their personal time, their family time. So now this is using technology, it just makes their life so much easier. And plus, right, things you do it manually, you always have a risk. Hey, did I screw up a formula in Excel? So there's always a risk, right? And especially for firms that are growing, and then when they have partners or they have employee bonuses that they have defined, right? It does not make sense to keep on doing the same calculation every month, right? So use the software, use technology to automate that process for you so that you can focus on better things, right? So like 2 weeks ago, I got a text from one of the managing partners, and he says, "Hey, I was just thinking about you because he was playing a round of golf, and normally on weekends he would be crunching numbers, but now he doesn't have to do it, so he could go play a round of golf."
And I imagine that it's probably, it's probably super beneficial on top of all that to have someone or something that knows what it's talking about in terms of data.
Yeah. And end of the day, for me, it's not just for law firms, right? For me also, we use our product internally. And for me also, I look at it on Friday evening and I look at it on Monday morning, because Friday evening, I look at it, what happened, what closed. And Monday morning, I look at the numbers to figure out, okay, what's my plan of action for the week? And it just gives me a lot of peace of mind. By looking at the numbers, I know, you know, uh, there's enough money in the bank. My pipeline is healthy, my receivables is healthy, I have a low collection problem. It just gives you in one dashboard, it gives you all that information, just gives you peace of mind.
Yeah. And peace of mind is something that lawyers definitely need because, especially with, there's a mental health crisis in the legal industry right now. And so any sort of help to give them peace of mind is a-okay in my book for sure. And so let's talk about lawyers who have already had law firms for years, right? And they never really did any tracking. They never really did any data collecting or anything like that. What kind of steps can they take in order to get started?
So number one thing is they need to make sure that they have good applications in place. Like, they have a legal management system like Clio or MyCase or Practice Panther. They have a good intake process where they're actually capturing relevant information that is required for analyzing. And they have a good financial system in place where they can keep track, right? So the most important flow for any law firm is lead to cash. So all the things that when a lead comes in to all the way the money comes into the bank is what you want to measure at various different stages. So that is because some of our law firms, right? Uh, they used to give a lot of discount to the clients because the clients were constantly complaining. So they would write down the hours, right? Instead of they would work 100 hours but bill only 80 hours, right? So it's okay to do it occasionally, but you want to make sure you measure those things to see, okay, which is a client that's constantly asking for discounts. And if you look at it, if you're constantly discounting the hours, you're probably not even making enough money on it. So sometimes it makes sense to let go such clients, right? So it's important to look at the numbers. Also, a lot of firms, like now that we have automated it for them, it's actually encouraging them to give bonuses to the employees who bring in business. So earlier they were not able to do it because it's very hard to maintain. Okay, who should I give the origination credit to? Sometimes multiple people are involved in bringing the business, right? So we make it easy for them to calculate it so that they can start offering it. So just by introducing the origination credit process in the firm revenue actually year over year for the last 2 years, it grew by 25%,
Oh, wow.
because now the employees are also were focusing and working hard to bring in new business because they're going to get credit for it.
Absolutely. And I know just as humans, we love credit. Right? We love credit when we put in the work for sure. Sachin, any final thoughts for the audience?
Yeah, one thing I would really like to say is, like, identify your goals and identify KPIs that are measurable, because things that you're not able to measure, it's very difficult. And it's also important to have an action associated with each of these KPIs. So the goal is the time from data to action. You want to try to reduce that time from data to action, because by generating the data, if it takes you hours or days to generate that data, by the time you take the action, it might be too late. So if they can reduce the time between data to action and identify KPIs that are meaningful for their firm. Not everybody needs to measure everything, right? And ideally, you should try to limit your KPIs like under 20, because anything over than that, it's like an overkill and you will not have time to measure those KPIs. So that is, I think it's important for every law firm to identify what are their goals. Like, especially now you're going into 2025. This is a great time for you to sit and take a step back and identify what are your different goals and what are the different things that you want to measure so that you achieve your goals.
That's awesome. I know here for us at our internal marketing department, although we've been using data for a while, we've declared that 2025 is going to be the year of data. That everything that most decisions that we make are going to be revolving around data. Sachin, where can the audience find you and get in touch with you?
So the best way to do it is go to our website. We have a schedule a link, schedule a time with us, and it's a discovery call. We will love to meet with you, talk to you, understand what your goals are, recommend what should be doing, what we have done for other law firms, and it'll help you identify what are the things that you need to measure. Whether you choose us or not, I would love to connect with you and just help you understand and share what we have done for hundreds of law firms who are extremely successful leveraging data.
Awesome. And for everyone listening, I will put the clickable links in the podcast description so people can just simply click on that link to get where they need to go.
Thank you, Michael. This was fun.
Awesome. And for everyone listening, thank you for listening and have a terrific weekend. We will see you next week.